Metro just busted up quite the scam. 3 guys who were stealing a bunch of stuff, then turned around and sold that stuff to make money. We first told you about the rest of these 3 men charged with what is called a fencing operation last week. They were arrested earlier this month after police pinged a pair of stolen AirPods. Officers then found hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff at a house near Rancho and Oakey. On Monday, various retailers helped Metro with unloading the truck filled up with all the stolen goods. Police also released photos of some of the merchandise, which include vacuums, electronics, and all kinds of other stuff. Items that cannot be returned or claimed will be sent to Metro's evidence vault for safekeeping.